opens. It's true in walk. It's true in religion. It's true in business. It's true in love. It's true in everything in your life. When you think that it's the darkest day of your life, it means one door closed. And if you stop looking at that closed door, which is very dark, there is nothing darker than a closed door that's been slammed in your face. If you turn around the other way, you'll see there's a big hallway, and another door will open for you. You just got to keep walking and looking for the light. Do you think I would have lasted on a campus when I worked so hard as an immigrant son to become a professor? No, they closed the door in my face. Not because I didn't have the capacity to be a professor. It's because I was a non-designated hiree. And I struggled for many years, and I found I found my place in life. I kept fighting and fighting and fighting, and I wound up in radio. And I struggled to go from being a local host. It took me 6 years to become a national host. You don't think it happened overnight. I had to fight every day. The doors were all closed to me. And every day that I'm on the air, do you think this is something that comes with the territory? I have to struggle every day to sustain my ratings, sustain my intelligence, sustain my message, and not make a mistake that lands me with another closed door. Do you understand that? And so I walk the line, and I walk that tightrope, and I do it because I'm good at it, and I enjoy it. But the fact of the matter is that nothing in life that is worth anything comes without struggle. Nothing. Nothing is given to you. And yet these brats on the campuses want you to give them straight A's so they can go on and destroy the next institution that they go to. They want to go from undergraduate destructive elements to graduate school, and then when they can't make it on a law school admission test, an LSAT, they'll say the test is racist, or they can't make it on an MCAT. They'll say the test is racist because they can't make it into medical school, automatically make them a doctor, so they'll cut your artery where they're supposed to take off a fingernail. That's what you want? You want to go into a surgical ward not knowing who's cutting you because the idiot couldn't pass a test? Is that the world you want to inherit under Barry Obama? That's the world you're going to inherit unless you stand up and be as forceful as I am, shouting down these brats. And that's all I think I want to say on this. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust to protect my wealth and financial future. Call 1-800-289-2640. So what do you want to do? You want to talk about the insanity of the lunatics, the losers on campuses who know that they're second and third rate, and that's why they're rioting? You're telling me a kid in astrophysics is going to waste his time screaming about microaggression? He's going to waste his time, a kid who got into astrophysics, who wants to figure out how to launch a rocket to Jupiter? He's going to waste his time with these wastrels on campus, these losers in departments that didn't even exist 10 years ago, invented departments with no scholarship? Why would he be out there with those losers? It's all a second and third tier group of morons who never belonged on campus to begin with. That's my opinion. That's all. If I had taken this approach when I was an undergrad, for example, I wasn't the smartest memorizer on campus, let me tell you that. I always had trouble memorizing things. There were kids who were far better than me at memorizing books. They got straight A's. I never got straight A's. I had trouble memorizing. I was always a dreamy student. But I didn't say that kids who could memorize better were stupider than me. I didn't say that they didn't deserve their A's. I didn't say they didn't deserve the scholarships. I said, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. They went on and they did what they did. I went on and did what I did. Everyone has their own talents. We're all snowflakes. We're all different. So don't tell me everyone has the capacity of Einstein if only they're given the chance. That's ludicrous. On the face of it, that's idiotic. Go to your football field, idiot. Everyone can play football. How many times do I have to say the same thing to you? You want affirmative action on the football field? And by that token, I should have been a quarterback. I would have dropped the ball before throwing it. But what? When I was screamed, it was microaggression because the other player scared me as he ran at me? Oh, I dropped the ball because he gave me a look. The microaggression made me drop the ball. That's the same thing that's going on in the world of the mind. But you can't talk to idiots who never belonged on campus to begin with. Never. You know, this goes back to arguments I've made for 20 years now. When I went to high school, and I think it's long overdue that we do this again, there were three tiers of high school. There was the academic, then we had I believe there was a commercial high school where kids who were never going to be in academics went and studied to be whatever it was, I think, secretaries or this and that. And then there was the vocational schools. Basically, the kids learned to be electricians, plumbers, carpenters in a vocational school. They worked with tools, and they could become a tradesman. But you didn't mix them all together like suddenly everyone's the same, because everyone's not the same. People have different desires, different capacities. Now, all of a sudden, in this homogeneous idiot society of ours, it's assumed that every moron can be an Einstein. It's just not true. It's just not true. Not everyone is made for an academic performance. It's that simple. No matter what you're going to do, you're not going to have the same outcome. So I think I've covered that topic. You know, it's nice having a multicultural president. It really is. Every religion, every race is not equal. Some are more superior than others. In fact, when you have a multicultural president, some animals are more equal than others. If you read your Orwell, you know the reference I'm making. If you didn't, I pity you. And I never met a Hindu I didn't like, by the way. I've always gotten along with Hindu people, and I've had Hindu friends, incidentally, in real life, real time. And I don't just mean in Indian restaurants. I lived in Fiji, where half the population were Indians and Hindus, and I learned something about the Hindu religion. And I respect greatly the fact that Indian people come here, and in one generation or less, they're winning spelling bees. And it's not about that. It's about a nauseating bending over backwards to gush over every religion and every race in such a childish way. Churchill said this: everyone is in favor of free speech. Hardly a day passes without its being extolled.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Savage States of America.
And, of course, there is a new president of the Savage States of America, and that is Donald Trump, who joins us now somewhere in America. Donald, thank you very much for being with us, and welcome back to the Savage Nation. My audience loves you.
It is so good to be back with you, always, always.
Donald, I know you have very little time. I'm going to get right to 4 questions. 1, what would you do right now to stop ISIS if you were president?
I would hit them so hard that you wouldn't even believe it. We would hit them every which way. We have to demean. You know, there has to be a demeaning. Like, I watched where all the networks are calling this wise guy a mastermind, the mastermind behind the attack. What's the mastermind? They walk into a place, nobody has guns. They walk into a place, they shoot everybody. He's a mastermind. We have to demean these people. We can't call people masterminds when they're savages. They're just savage, to use a very familiar term.
That's traumatic for me.
You don't want to be associated with them.
No, I get it, but I agree with you 100%. In World War II, we had a propaganda campaign against Nazis and the Japanese. We demeaned them. We humiliated them with propaganda. Instead, we have vermin in the media who glorify them. Topic 2, Mr. Trump, when you are president, not if, when you are president, would you deport all the Muslim refugees that Obama is rushing into America?
Well, you know, I said that 4 weeks ago. I said, if they come, I'm just putting everybody on notice that if they come, they are going to be deported. Now, it's a very sad thing, and I have a bigger heart than any of them, but we have no choice. We can't. We're a country that has nothing but problems, including $19 trillion in debt. We have nothing but problems. I said, if they come, they will go back if I win. Now, we should build a safe zone along with everybody else. You know, the Gulf states aren't putting up anything. You look at the money they make with the oil and everything else. They don't take anybody. They don't put up any money. They said, why should they when the dumb United States and other countries will do it? Look at what she's done to Germany. So I would hit them so hard. And don't forget, on your show last time, I said, and I've been saying it for 2 years, hit the oil, right? I actually said hit the oil and take it. But hit the oil because you take away their wealth, and that's where they get a lot of their money. The oil that they took over, that we gave them when we left. You know, when we left, we gave them so much. It's just not only military, we gave them everything. So I said, hit the oil. Now, about 2 days ago, they started hitting the oil. Does anybody say thank you, Donald? Nobody. I've been the only one. I was taking abuse. They said, oh, that's such a horrible thing to say. But now they're hitting the oil.
Donald, let me ask you something. Here is a tough question, but I've been covering it for days because I'm convinced. I have my own conclusions. I want yours. What do you think is Obama's real reason for flooding America with Muslims from Syria right now when 30 states say no?
Well, it's hard to imagine, and obviously some people think it's evil intentions. I think personally it's incompetence, but, regardless, a lot of people think it's evil intentions. Do you know if you're a Christian, and this is before this problem, if you were a Christian in Syria, it was virtually impossible to come into our country. If you were a Muslim in Syria, it was one of the easiest ways to come into the United States. I don't know if you've ever heard that. And
I know. You know that there was a Syrian Christian family in San Diego that was already here with relatives, and he deported them about 3 weeks ago?
If you're a Christian, it's very hard to get into this country, and if you are a Muslim, it's very easy. And if you come from Syria being a Muslim, now, if you think of it, if you're president, the Christians are having their heads cut off, and those people found it almost impossible. I mean, it's not me saying it. Statistically, very, very hard for a Christian from Syria to get in before this whole big mess that we have right now.
Donald, on the campaign trail, you took a lot of heat recently for attacking Carson. I criticized you on the show saying I still support you for two reasons, and I don't want to go backwards. I'd rather go forwards. Do you think that in the future all Republican candidates should agree to attack Hillary and Obama, not each other, during future debates? Wouldn't that be wise?
Mike, I know what you said. I know you and I have had a great relationship, but at some point, I have to lay out facts. I mean, I have to lay out facts. I'm doing very well in the polls, as you know, and I'm number one. But he's sort of number two. I think he's losing a lot of steam, if you want to know the truth, because if you look at front page of many newspapers, he had a very bad week because he's having a hard time learning anything about foreign policy, which you don't want, Michael, and I don't. But all I did was quote things in his book because he said he has pathological disease and a lot of other things. And
I know. Yeah, but it was so brutal. I mean, you must have been a heck of a street fighter in Queens because you know how to get a guy on the ground and really let him have it, Donald. What I'm saying is a lot of people love you and they really like him. They're not going to vote for him. They want you to win. I personally think that on a campaign, in front of these people in the media, you shouldn't fall into their trap and always turn the question back to Hillary's failures as Secretary of State. You know that she created this mess in the world through her Arab Spring. You know that by bringing down Gaddafi and killing him when he said don't do it because it'll create chaos and you'll have refugees pouring into Europe. She owns this problem, and yet it never comes up during the debates, Donald.
The world blew up around her. She was a terrible Secretary of State, maybe the worst ever, but I have to beat 15 people. Now, Jindal left, as you saw. He had 0. But Jindal is gone. So, I have to win before I can get to her. Believe me, I think she's going to be easy. She has such a bad record. I think she's going to be easy.
I love it.
But you have to get there first. We have 15 people in a race, and we have to get there first. And one by one, they whittle down. But all I did is hit Carson on things that he said in his book. Now, he wrote the book before he was running for office, I guess, but it was pretty bad stuff that he wrote in the book. So, but I understand. A couple of other people, they said, you don't have to say that. But I felt I had to get the word out because people didn't know. I mean, they didn't know. So,
I thought that after I criticized you on air, and I did it as delicately as I could, that I wouldn't be eating lettuce at Mar-a-Lago ever again. But I'm glad to see that you're a bigger man than I am, and you came back on the show because you can take criticism. And by the way, that's more than most politicians are willing to do, Donald. You know and I know that most politicians are so thin-skinned, that if you dare say one word about them that they don't agree with, they excommunicate you. And you did not do that with me. I got to tell you that.
No, look, I understand that you were unhappy about that, but, your show's always been good. You've always been good to me, other than the last couple of weeks. You didn't like what I said, but at some point, hey, why, are you a non-competitive person? You wouldn't do it. You would have done it 5 times worse than I did it, okay?
Well, but if I were in your place and I had a chance to knock Carson down, I think that what gets you about Carson is that he acts like such a knight. I think what was getting your goat, looking back, knowing kind of a little bit more about you as you've evolved on the campaign trail, is that you didn't like him getting away with it. He's such a nice guy and so sort of unaggressive. When under the surface, you're saying there's a monster lurking under the surface. Was that sort of what it was?
He's got some deficiencies, and they're pretty big, and I wanted to let him know. And you understand that. You would have been worse than me, I'm telling you, okay? I know you too well, Michael. You're trying to be like this nice guy. Don't hit. Since when don't you hit people hard? If By the way, if you hit people hard, your show wouldn't be the success it is either. So, always good to do your show. You know that.
Well, are you going to be in Florida this winter for Christmas? I know you're normally there, but this is a different year. You think you're going to get down there?
I'm all over the place. I'm going.
How do you do it? Where do you get the energy from? How do you do this? You know, over the years that I've been in radio, people have said run for office. I don't have the energy for it. I can do this show. How do you do it? Is it the meatloaf? What is it?
I don't know. I've asked that question all the time, and where do you get it? And I guess I can only say from my mother and my father.